Them goddamn Deemus boys. Yeehaw!
Alright, let's get into the album review, man. Today, Portishead, man. Portishead have a special place in my heart. I'm gonna just go in a little background for the people that don't know about Portishead. So Portishead are a Bristol band from, surprisingly, a place called Portishead, composed of Adrian Yulee, Jeff Burrow, and Beth Gibbons. They have only released 3 albums, which breaks my heart. And Adam, come on. And they were very prominent during the 90s. You know, the band has influenced basically a lot of music right now, a lot of modern music, especially with like the whole dark wave of pop that's going on. And some of the most known people who they have been influenced by, I would say Gorillaz, Travis Scott, definitely when he did Astro World, he said Portishead, their drums, Radiohead, Tyler the Creator, The Weeknd, Deftones, Alyssa Cara, Queens of the Stone Age, and last but not least, Kanye West said Portishead influenced him the most when he made Late Registration, combining classical instruments and hip-hop. Today we are talking about their second album, which is titled Portishead, which I think is their hidden middle child, because the original is incredible. Third is just a wave of genres on its own, but this album to me has a special place in my heart. Do you want me to start?
Yeah,
Shall I
go
start?
for it.
All right, cool. So for me, this album is like, I use it as a masterclass for minimalism in music, because the way how they use the space between the instruments and the atmosphere is kind of like, it just creates that whole film vibe. And that kind of minimalism is very rare in music, especially kind of keeping that vibe while at the same time, you know, just adding all of these crazy effects and these, I'd say just the crazy vocals of Beth, you know, how a tone is very dark and spooky and just gives that feeling of like classic 60s score with just how it's very classical in jazz, and she's very dark and just, you know, got that Billie Holiday-esque to her. The best way to describe the sound of this album to me is just witch music. Like, it just sounds like a group of witches in the forest just casting one big ass dark spell on like the world. Or it just sounds like the type of music that, you know, a girl who, if she studies witchcraft, she'll just put on as she's like, you know, dashing a couple things in her bowl in front of like the moon or something.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those albums that, you know, like if you're ever with a girl and then she asks you, like, you know, what's your star sign? Yeah. And then she asks you not just your star sign, then she asks you like,
what's sun and your moon?
What's your birth chart? And then you're in a room and, you know, like, you know, she's turned on the lights and like, you know, dim the lights, the purple trippy lights or whatever. And, you know, she's lit the incense and, you know, you see some stones, you know, it's cool. And then she puts some Portishead, beware.
Yeah.
Beware. And then she starts lighting a sage. Ooh. You're about to go on a trip.
Christ, Demi with the fucking mind pictures. You just painted a very vivid picture. I like it.
To be honest, this sound is that.
If you play that, if you plays the track, which is my favorite track, which is called Humming, and it just goes like, it's like a whole minute and 39 seconds of like intro. It's like. Oh, dude.
Dumb ones.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of conflicting disagreement in this section.
Adam likes to be serenaded by some Bon Jovi. I know how you ride.
No.
I'm a typical white boy.
It has to be a guy who's screaming.
Yeah,
I'm a typical white boy. I hear "shut through the heart" and I'm like, "Oh shit!" that's me up. That is my night.
I said your emotional high is like what Tears of Heaven by Eric Clapton. Like, you put that on when you're having that real ice cream moment. Just watch it. Tears in Heaven.
Cry while dessert spoon filled to the brim with Haagen-Dazs. Hell yeah.
Did you just say Haagen-Dazs?
Yeah.
Bro, Ben and Jerry.
Nah.
No, Shaq. Leave him.
Okay.
We'll get back to that.
Okay. We'll be talking about
taking
snacks
notes.
later, guys.
Taking notes.
Ooh, a little bit of foreshadowing there. We're getting technical, you know.
We're getting a bit Tarantino here. cut this and then out of nowhere we started talking about dolphins or something.
The last one started off with avocados. I feel like we've stuck pretty well to topic for this one so far.
Going back to the review, I'm gonna just say the way they blend live instruments and samples is a key influence to me with SHADEEMUS. The fact how they use drum breaks and resample drums as drum breaks, that was just like a huge influence to me and my style as a musician. And it kind of, because I always liked that live sound, and with MIDI drums it's hard to get that live sound unless you play them in, and I always found it awkward playing them in on keyboard. So how I used to do it was I used to get a track and I used to do a MIDI over the track, and after that I kind of saw that was flawed, and then I started using drum breaks, and Portishead were like the main exploder in my mind for using drum breaks with the music, and which has influenced SHADEEMUS today. And the styles of like Miracone on guitar, and most on a lot of the tracks, including I believe it was 7 Months when it had that guitar solo at the end, which was incredible. And also a lot of the textures throughout the album is to me just resembles that Can style of like weirdedry, where they'll have like a jam session, they'll have like a 5-minute track and throughout there'll just be like weird sounds and shit, and that kind of just adds the vibes to a film score. And ending this, I would say I don't really have a favorite track, but for me, if I had to pick a least favorite track, it would be Oh Mine, because I don't know, it's just that kind of that kind of sound. It just reminds me of like some old 70s blaxploitation sex scene. So it's just like, it's just awkward to me. It's just every time it's like, bow wow, it's like, yeah, baby, let's get it on. It's just, it kind of just throws me, out of that kind of dark atmosphere. But other than that, it's like, I can't really pick a favorite, man. They're all favorites to me, man. And if I had to pick a tune, Adam's least favorite tune, which would be Half Day Closing, is one of my favorites. Only You is, I would say, I remember the day when that track popped up on my Spotify, and I was listening to that for like about a good 5 hours, and man, that track is just, it's just a nice time capsule of the 90s that I love. But yeah, moving on, Demi. Actually, no. Let's go to Adam. Let's see what Adam thinks.
Are you sure you want to know what I think?
Hey, I want to leave this on a high note.
Okay.
Fantano,
ladies and
give me your
gentlemen,
thoughts.
I present to you Adam.
Hello.
Adam Finney Fantano.
I didn't go as in-depth with the whole breakdown of what I felt about the whole thing. I sort of went track by track.
Yeah,
but
that's great.
I'll just give you a whole little cheeky little overview. I felt like the whole thing was quite dissonant. So they used like a lot of clashing sounds, especially between the guitars and the vocals, and especially the bass and the vocals on on All Mine. I think no, not All Mine. I was wrong. Probably should have planned for this. Hang on. Half Day Closing. That's the one. The one that yeah. You already said that was my least favorite. I gave that a 2 out of 10. I
Nice.
couldn't do it. I actually wrote down not liking the intro because the bass and the vocals sound out of tune with each other, and the drums in the left headphone is quite jarring. So, which I honestly felt like it was. I was listening to it and I half expected it to come like, I was waiting for a drop where everything would sort of pan out into the normal way and the drums would be straight down the middle and it'd all just sort of clear up. And I ended up just leaving it feeling sad. Just like,
see, just to kind of, I'm just fanboy damage control this.
Yeah.
For me, the way how I see the drums is like somebody creeping behind you. It's kind of like a feeling of like something is just uneasy. It's not quite center. It's not in that control. You want it to be center, but it's there kind of creeping behind you. And just the atmosphere of the dissonance is just that, it just kind of adds to that jarring sense of like the drums just on that left side, where it's just like, okay, this is just a creepy vibe. I just feel uneasy. But for me, I kind of like that because it kind of puts me in the atmosphere. But I understand why it would be your least favorite, man.
To be fair, saying it like that, it does make sense, especially because the whole thing is quite cinematic, like the entire album front to back. So yeah, I guess it makes sense them doing things like that in order to bring out a certain feeling or anything like that. My favorite one, I'll go to my favorite one, was Western Eyes. So it's like the last song of the entire album. The only thing that threw me was that male vocal that came in at the end.
Yeah, I didn't like the male vocal. Yeah, that's one of the ones why Westernized is one of my least favorites, because it's kind of just, it comes out of nowhere, but I get it. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
It threw me. It was. I wrote down that it was a very Bond sound. The good vocals in the intro. I'd argue that it's even her best vocals in the entire album. And then the other thing that threw me, and it sort of almost ruined the entire song for me, really, was the snare. that thing. Whoever made the call to have the snare not sound like a snare, but sound like a should be spoken to like stern. That thing. Talking about, like you said, that you got pulled from the atmosphere by like a sexy sounding guitar. Like,
wow, wow.
yeah, you got pulled out by the wow wows. I got pulled out by the. It's like the whole EP, like the whole album. Sorry, I was listening to. I was like, oh, okay, I see it's very them sounding like. Even to be fair, the sampling and stuff for the drums. Now that you've mentioned it, I can see the influence that they've brought into your sampling. It's quite a heavy influence, to be fair. I can definitely hear
it's
it.
one of those ones where it's like I wear it on my chest. I fully love Portishead.
Yeah, but if it was one of those things where if you decided, if you put in the group chat with all of us going, boys, I've made a call, I'm going to put in a duck snare on Clovis, I'd be like, stop it. Get some help. What made them think? Big brain move here. Big brain move, said the producer. I'm going to put a duck snare on this song. Completely ruin it.
Jeff Brower is probably pissed right now.
If you're listening, I highly doubt it, but I'm incredibly sorry. The rest of the song is very good. It's just that the snare ruined it. The other one, that got an 8 out of 10, by the way. The other one, I changed the score that I gave Over. Because Over was the highest rated out of the entire EP. The entire album, sorry.
Was it that guitar lead?
Yeah, the guitar riff at the end was very good.
I knew it. I knew that would be a tune.
So
to be honest, I was surprised you've never heard this tune after some of the tunes we've made, man.
Not once. That's the thing. I thought that, maybe, because I heard, is it Glory Box?
Yeah.
Like, I've heard Glory Box before. Like, that's definitely one that I've heard before. But and I thought, maybe if I've heard that, they're going to be big enough for me to have heard some of the other songs. But no, like literally all of them were new. And I think that a lot of them, it's going to be that they're going to be listened to once, and that is it. But
Fair play.
Over, I initially gave 8.5 out of 10 because I really liked the guitar at the intro, really cinematic intro. I liked that, and that was the best vocal up to that point in the into the album. The part that kicks in at 2:20 is really cool, and I really like the scratching, like the.
Yeah, I love that shit, man. It's just like, yo, it's so 90s. I love it.
It's like unapologetically 90s, isn't it? So yeah, I did quite like that one, and the riff at the end was decent. But I think the rest of it, man, I don't know. Did you say that Humming was your favourite one out of the whole album, Demi?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not like gonna go in on Humming. I gave it 7.5.
No.
I gave it 7.5 out of 10. So that ended up scoring better than Over because I gave Over 7 out of 10. But I just put, is that a theremin? Sounds like an old horror score. The loop was the best up to that point in the album, I think. And then I think I deducted points because it felt like it just dragged on a little bit at the end.
So what I want to ask you is, for tunes like Cowboys, how did you feel about that? Well, I'd say Cowboys and like Elysium.
I see Where's Elysium? I see Cowboys. I couldn't deal with Cowboys.
Yeah, why?
It was just really dissonant, and like her singing was out of key in parts. And I get that it's like a stylistic thing, and it was probably a choice for it to be out of key. But I couldn't listen to it and like let it sit. It might be one of them where if I listened to it more, I'd sort of understand the out of key bit, because I had to do that with Deftones. And like you said, this band was an influence on Deftones. And the way that he sings is very sort of reminiscent of the way that she sings, but I can wrap my head around it more when he does it in the context of a metal song.
Yeah, because I would say like going into some of Portishead's influences, they are influenced by, I'd say, a lot of Black Sabbath, and they are influenced by a lot of, I would say, krautrock, which was doing a lot of heavy stuff back at that, with like the whole 70s German rock. They were doing some experimental stuff. Also, I remember Jeff Barrow once said that his album, the first album, Dummy, was meant to be like their own version of Nirvana's Nevermind.
Jesus.
So they were heavily influenced by rock, and so if you listen to their first and third album, it's a lot more rock influenced. I think I've sent you a couple tunes, and like this one is definitely, as you said, film score, hip hoppy, but I don't want to take too much of Demi's limelight. I want to hear what Demi has to say.
Yeah. I'll just quickly touch on the fact that you asked me about Cowboys and Elysium. They both scored 5 out of 10 for me. I did think that the bass and the drum groove in Elysium was cool. The chord sequence.
I thought you would like that because it's very hip hoppy, like kind of that 90s style hip hop. Yeah. It's like I know you like kind of some of Royce the 5'9" type stuff, but
his whole thing with Bad Meets Evil was amazing. But the chord sequence in the chorus, I felt like it throws me. It was really dissonant. But I did go on to say that the part from 2 minutes 50 to 4 minutes 10 is really nice, like that little break. And then it comes in and I just couldn't deal with it again. It might be one of those where the more I listen to it, the more I start to like it. But yeah, I think it'd take some doing for me to have to listen to it again. Right, sorry, Demi. On to you.
Aye. Adam, you went in, man. Fucking hell. No, I love it. Brutal honesty.
I didn't think he would be this passionate.
No, I love it though. At the start, he was like, I don't have that much of a. he said, I didn't make that much of a note. I didn't go that deep into it. And then he proceeded to give us track by track analysis. Yeah. I love it. Nah, I mean, you think you weren't passionate about it, but you actually were, which is really great. Which is a really good thing. Which meant you actually did take the time to listen to it, despite the difference. In terms of genre that you not the kind of genre that you usually listen to, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice, man. That's good. Good analysis. Fucking hell. If you need your album reviewed, send it to fucking Adam. It'll let you know what's good and what isn't.
That's it.
Right?
And I can't even say it now. He's just Fantano, man. I can't say
it. All right. So I like to take a different approach to how I listen to it. And I like Portishead. They take me to places. I like the airy vibes. I like the sad boy tunes or the sad girl tunes or the sad individual, non-binary tune. But I'll start off with the album cover. For me, I really, really like the artwork. Very minimal, straight up. Portishead and Portishead beside each other. One was the font that was filled, the other was the font that wasn't filled, and there's a security guy who's like standing there, and you can see the badge, and it's like P, and then there's what looks like a little girl on stage, which I'm sure is a little girl on a platform on stage, and then behind her is like the P. I like the branding is just on point for me, so I really, really like that. And then if we were to go into like the themes of like the songs and stuff, like very cinematic, and you can even tell by like how they named the songs, like 7 Months, Elysium, Western Eyes, Cowboys, and then Humming, obviously, which is the longest song on the album, and clearly, obviously, my favorite song on the album because of its overly extended intro. And for me, I just like that's just one thing I like about them. Apart from the fact that they're alt and all that other stuff, it's just the fact that they're you can tell that they respect the artistry of like music. Where music's kind of come from, in a sense of like music was not always the short 3-minute. 40-second or 2-minute whatever, and they actually took the time out to make a composition that that carried you on a whole journey. And I'm I the kind of music I listened to growing up were like 10 minutes long or like 7-8 minutes standard Fela Kuti or whatever. So it's like hearing that on here as well, is kind of like, I was like, okay, cool. You really did take the time to compose, even if it was just that one song on the whole album. Like I fucked with it. And I also like the lead singer as well, Beth Gibbons. See, I'm picking out the weirdest things, right? So this is the weirdest thing. I like the way she grew up, or the places she grew up in Britain. That's for me. I think it's key. Exeter is where she was born, and Exeter holds a really, really, it holds a place in my heart because I've been there, and I like the city. I like it there. I like it. It has this like ominous, like it captures this like, like it's a student town, but you can tell like there's this dreadful air just going there, and it sounds to me like she's kind of captured it sonically.
It's like a
with her
moody
writing.
city.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I kind of find Bristol.
From there.
Like, I love Bristol, but
Exactly.
I love that kind of vibe, man. It's just
exactly. And she also moved to Bath, and for me personally, and this is a personal opinion, come and fight me if you want to. I think a lot of artists, in terms of craft artists, they don't really exist in London. A lot of them exist in Bath. Bath is a town filled with creatives that you don't even know of, in terms of they might not make, the art that's like out there that you hear of right now, or whatever. But
yo, I'm gonna make a quick shout out to my boy Ux from Bath and my boy Joe from Bath, and Joe
exactly.
Joe's a bad man.
Same, man. I have a a lot of creative folks from Bath. Callum, who's an amazing surrealist painter. Like, he would paint like it's a picture, you know what I mean? Also Jack Ray, Ferguson Ray, Stoyle, who's like an amazing chef artist, like a Michelin chef type person. And Jack Needle as well. New Idol. I'm trying to say his brand name, but it's I messed that one up. Sorry about
He loves you.
But so basically, so I like the fact that, like, it's because when I listen to like the kind of stuff that she sings, and the way she presents, her stories and the narrative, and the soul behind the voice, as I like to call it. It captures, for me, it almost captures like moments and times in these cities, and in these places that she would have been in, and I can literally feel the influence of those places in the way she's singing, which for me, it's a weird connection that I made, and I'm like, wow, I feel, because if you go to these places, you kind of get that air of like, oh wow, chill, like, kind of like, so, and very cinematic as well. And well, I already said that, but also just the fact that she's, I think I said it to you earlier, and I was like, it's like she's poetically performing, like, it's very, there's just, there's something there. It's just a bit of a soul, although it's, very sad tones, but something behind the voice. I really appreciated that. So I really enjoyed the album. I enjoyed listening to it. They're not usually my go-to listening to music. If anyone knows me, I don't listen to a lot of music, but I have listened to some of their songs in the past, and I really did enjoy this album.
Great.
That's my take on it.
Man, jeez, a review by Demigosh.
Tell you everything but the music. Can't tell you what hi-hats they were using. I don't recognize those, Can't tell you what fuzz they were using, like Adam.
So Demi, have you said that so would you say Portishead has influenced your style of an approach to music?
Not directly, but indirectly. Like, the kind of people that either Beth and them would have been influenced by, and also the kind of people that inspire them has inspired me. So they're in this, in the same sort of, in like if you want to look at it as a generational line of inspiring people, and they would have indirectly influenced me.
Yeah.
But not directly, because it's I feel comfortable in their realm. And it's not my first time going to that kind of that kind of space that the Sonics brought me to, sorry. And I felt comfortable there, and it felt very familiar. But there was very new sort of nuances, with, like, for example, her voice, and like the You mentioned it earlier on, Adam, the kind of like singing off key, and yeah, and like the drops between the beat that wasn't like very straightforward. It's like sort of laggy, kind of like dragging.
Yeah,
sort of like
has that swing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the word I'm looking for. Swing. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, no, they did. Yes, I can say yeah. Inspiration, because definitely a couple of things that we're working on. After I listened to the album, I kind of went back to a number of things that we were working on, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I was trying to do, and they kind of did it. So let me see if I can how I can make mine better, or how I can make it, or how I can do it in my own way, something that they've done or whatever. Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely it's within the realms for sure.
That's beautiful, man. But yo, Adam, I know you have a lot of negatives for this album, but would you say, is there a positive you would take away?
Yeah, I would say that the one thing that I can appreciate is the fact that, like, you could play me another song from this and I would not confuse them with another band. They are just 100% like authentically them. They know what they've got, and they, to their credit, they do it well. Like it takes a lot of thinking and just a good artistic brain to find something and put it together in a way that people understand that it's used straight away. You like listen to 10 seconds of any song on that entire album and you'll be like, that is Portishead. literally. For me, it's even being in their genre. Their genre, trip hop, is kind of one of those genres where it can get very repetitive, but they have made their own thumbprint within that genre, man. And I really appreciate that, man. But yes,